basically the last information that I got is that once the Senate passed, we passed out of the House, and I shouldn't say we, but they passed out of the House, then we would come back. I think it's a terrible, terrible idea. It's a terrible plan.
Yes, the radical extremist Democrat Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. She wouldn't say that we passed, just because she's a member of the House and the House passed it, she wouldn't say we passed it, because she's a stupid Civil War Nick. She's not a smart person. She's an extremely ignorant, ill-informed person. She's a Democrat. She's Jasmine Crockett. Yeah, I wouldn't say we passed it. I'd say they passed it. She's going to fire on Fort Sumter. Should stuff her into an oversized cannon and fire her at Fort Sumter, I think. What a piece of work. What a piece of work. Well, it is suddenly and amazingly hour number 3. And talking about the Democrat riot in Chicago. And the Democrat governor there blaming the police for enforcing the law. Can't have the police enforcing the law when the Democrats are the elected political leaders there. Got to have more violence, less law and order, more anarchy, more attacks using probably stolen vehicles on federal law enforcement, and news media that is just not up to the task of being a Western news media. But since we're talking, I want to get through this, and I want to get to my mailbag. I got to get to the mailbag. Let's go to the corpulent Illinois governor, J.B. Pritzker, who is, he really doesn't like immigration customs enforcement. And again, these illegal aliens in a vehicle crashed into a federal law enforcement vehicle. And then there was a high-speed chase, and the illegal aliens, 2 illegal aliens, were captured. One of them looks like he might be transgender, but it might just be, a Latin American thing or a Latinx thing. Could be a Latinx thing that I don't understand. J.B. Pritzker was out there. Again, it's a damn good thing that no federal law enforcement were murdered, but the Democrat Party, they're fighting for more anarchy, more violence, more chaos, more riots, and more attacks on federal law enforcement. Here is the Democrat governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker.
Well, it's very disturbing what's happening. They're overstepping the boundaries of their authority,
no, they're
ICE
not.
And CBP. I also would say that
disdain.
I think you should pay close attention to the fact that they're getting filmed in all of these circumstances, which is very helpful because it helps us to go to court and get some limitations. You saw that we won in court, not just the TRO, but also about the behavior and actions and whether they're ICE must identify themselves in these circumstances, and they must.
Yeah, they're wearing uniforms and body armor that have the identifying markers of their agencies on them. And then there are vehicles which are marked, and you guys are crashing into them, and your illegal alien allies are crashing into them. And he said filmed. They're being filmed like, oh, we'll get them. They're targeting the cops. First of all, it's not film, you moron. They're video. It's electronic digital video. It's not film. It's not old celluloid, rolling through the 16-millimeter camera, the 8-millimeter camera, you dimwit. And he uses CBP, the Customs Border Protection. We all have to speak the government code now. And a TRO, we've got a temporary restraining order because we all speak courtroom, don't we? We all spend our lives in court because all of our children are criminals, just like yours, all you Democrats. The problem is not our guns, it's your sons. Your sons should stop being criminals. How about that? Yeah. The CBP TRO filmed, yeah, we'll get those cops. Yeah, we won in court. They're taking the police to court, not the illegal alien gang members stealing cars and crashing them into federal law enforcement. He's literally a bootlick for Tren de Aragua, the Venezuelan gang, and the illegal alien gang members in the United States attacking federal law enforcement. And the Democrat governors, the neo-Confederates, breaking away from the Union to be radicals because that's who they are. The governor of and then it's all Trump's fault. Now this is an authentic, certified mental illness J.B. Pritzker.
I have to say, it is abominable, the unconstitutional actions that are taking place. And here's the most tragic part. Usually the inspectors general of the United States, the ones who work in the departments like the Department of Homeland Security, when something goes wrong, when an agent does something wrong, typically they investigate and they'll hold somebody responsible. I don't trust at all that the Trump administration is going to hold any of these people responsible. We will.
You mean the criminal illegal aliens crashing stolen cars into federal law enforcement officers? No, he means federal law enforcement officers. This guy should, most former governors of Illinois end up going to prison, and it might be very appropriate for this billionaire to spend, maybe just 5 years or something behind bars. I think they have a governor's wing in the prison in Illinois, because so many of the governors have gone to the penitentiary. One term in the governor's mansion, and then one term in the house, the big house. Isn't it amazing? Yeah, and Trump won't hold these people accountable. He's literally talking about federal law enforcement, not illegal alien gang members crashing cars into federal law enforcement. He's talking, and we're going to get film. He says film. The videos, the digital videos, which all the illegal aliens and gang members are making videos with their $2,000 phones and broadcasting them all over the patriarchy-provided, what's it called, the Internet. Got the Internet and all that, and amazing. Pritzker, so he's talking about targeting Americans and law enforcement and the President of the United States, and he says everything's unconstitutional. They don't know what the word unconstitutional means. Right? And he blames the police for overstepping, and they've got to be filmed, he says, and held accountable. And then President Trump needs to be held. President Trump won't hold, he says, the federal law enforcement accountable for enforcing the law. These people they're as dumb as third world, like Soviet Union, Banana Republic, Eastern European, like Albanian, Enver Hoxha apparatchiks. He was a very bad communist dictator, Enver Hoxha. And here is the corpulent Governor Pritzker.
The tables will turn someday. These people should recognize that maybe they're not going to get prosecuted today, although we're looking at doing that. But they may get prosecuted after the Trump administration for the things that they did because the statute of limitations won't have run.
Now, that's what's happening right now with all these criminals that the Democrats use and abuse their authorities and powers to target Republicans and people in the Trump inner circle. This is the tables turning, right? When you see Democrats facing the music for their abuses of power, like the Attorney General of New York, and you got her, and she's a racist, and the racist. What's the name of the racist in Atlanta again? Who, Fannie Willis. Yeah, Fannie Willis. Yeah, it's they say you have to say Fannie, not Fanny. So how about big ass Willis? How about that? That ought to do it. Isn't that amazing? These people, and the violence is they're pro-violence. They're pro-crime, pro-criminal. All right, I want to get also before the hour is out to the update out of Hamas. They're not giving up. They're not disarming. They're not even handing over the dead bodies of the people they murdered, which they had agreed to do because they're savages. And I've got an update on that coming up. But before we get to that, it is Mailbag Day. And I love this. The first question is from VRWC. Now, everybody should know the abbreviation VRWC. We do TROs and what else do? We do CBP, and we do all the abbreviations. VRWC, created initially by one of my great friends, Greg Mueller. Greg Mueller created the VRWC. That is Hillary Clinton, ginned up in her demented little mind, her corrupt mind. The vast right-wing conspiracy, that's VRWC. And VRWC asks, the vast right-wing conspiracy asks, hi, Chris, do you think that if Reagan or any other Republican were president today, that they, too, would have been subjected to similar blatant abuse and hostility that Trump contends with from the mainstream media and his opposition? when do you think this radicalized hatred began? Now, vast right-wing conspiracy, this is a 2-hour discussion, and I'm not going to be able to do all of that. But let me start by saying, do you think Reagan and any other Republican today would be subjected to similar blatant abuse and hostility? The answer is yes, I do, because this is what the Democrat Party has become. The Democrat Party hated Ronald Reagan, and they accused him of he was going to lead to nuclear war, and he was the most peaceful president in a century. But never mind that. But it is, and you know, when did this start? I've got to say, man, oh man. I think Barack Obama really is driving the train behind a lot of this. Now, the hatred of the left was in evidence everywhere. Ronald Reagan, Mitt Romney, who's like Mr. Squeaky Clean Mormon guy, perfect family, perfect wife, perfect everything. And they vilified him and demonized him. These people, what is it, Victoria Nuland, with using the Russian playbook, the Soviet playbook. They hated Reagan. They hated George H.W. Bush, World War II Navy pilot shot down by the Japanese CIA director. A great, wonderful man, wonderful family man. They hated him. They hated W. Bush. And they loved Barack Obama, who put communists everywhere in the government because he was raised and mentored and nurtured by a communist named Frank Marshall Davis. Yes, I think any other Republican and all other Republicans are going to have to deal with this communist treatment going forward. The next Republican president, J.D. Vance, is going to have to deal with the same abuses of power that we've seen. I think this is the new normal for the left. They're not liberals. They're the left. They hated Reagan. They hated H.W. Bush. They hated George W. Bush. Barack Obama really got them abusing the government everywhere.
I need you to go out and talk to your friends and talk to your neighbors. I want you to argue with them and get in their face.
Yeah, then Donald Trump was shot through the air, and another sniper was arrested in the fence line, and the suicide attacks on the police and the self-immolations and the Democrat Party violence. It's the new normal, as we say. So, but vast right-wing conspiracy, I got to talk about this forever. Now I'm going to have to move on, and in fact, I'm not going to be able to get it all in this segment either. But Phil asks, hi, Chris, I was wondering, if the government is shut down, is the Congress considered at recess or in recess? If so, it would be a great time for President Trump to make some much-needed recess appointments. The government shutdown that the Democrats are driving does not mean that the government is automatically in recess. The House is in recess right now because the Speaker said, we've done our part. We've passed the bill, moved it to the Senate. Schumer is tripping everything up and stealing trillions of dollars like the criminal that he is. But it is not, the Congress is not shut down. The Congress still gets paid, by the way, during the government shutdown. The military doesn't, except President Trump made an exception for that. And you talk about the recess appointments. The Democrat idiots in Congress were marching yesterday. They had placards made up, and a bunch of idiot Democrats, elected Democrats, are chanting that they want a member of the House, a Democrat who won in a special election, to be sworn in so the Democrats get one more seat in the House of Representatives, one more vote in the House of Representatives. And the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, has said, no, we're not going to confirm. You guys shut the government down, and you guys won't confirm President Trump's appointments to various government agencies and departments because Chuck Schumer is tripping up the Senate and won't allow confirmations to take place because he's the lizard king and he's a communist. But let me get back to this because there's a lot more to say, and 2 more mailbag questions too. But if they could get recess appointments through right now, then absolutely go ahead and do it. And honestly, Thune in the Senate should say, listen, we're doing away with the filibuster rule just like the Democrats did under Harry Reid, and we're going to confirm everybody we want to confirm with 50 votes and leave it at that. And then the Democrats will open fire on Fort Sumter again. These guys. Did you know that the all-new third-generation Eden Pure Thunderstorm air purifier is finally available to all of us? and that the Gen 3 Eden Pure builds on the incredible success of the previous two generations, and they had already earned thousands of five-star reviews on Al Gore's amazing internet. The new Thunderstorm uses two technologies, two of them, that studies have shown help to kill up to 99.9% of bacteria and viruses floating in the air. Also removes dust and pet hair and smoke and all kinds of things. You don't want to breathe any of that. Also gets rid of any odor, stinky odor. You know, the Thunderstorm will help get rid of any stinky, smelly smell, guaranteed. Talking about orders from litter boxes, trash cans, cigarette smoke, liberals, musty basements. No match for the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. Right now, you can save $200 American on an Eden Pure Thunderstorm 3-pack for whole home protection. So you can put one in your basement, your teenager's room, your bedroom, any place you like to breathe clean, fresh air, the kitchen. You know, all you have to do is go to EdenPureDeals.com and use the discount code CHRIS3, C-H-R-I-S and the number 3, to save $200 on 3 Thunderstorms because we're pals. That's EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is CHRIS3. Yes, sir. All right, I've got a couple more mailbag questions. Not a mailbox, it's a mailbag. Here's the bag right over here. Mailbag questions coming up. And then the terrorists in the Middle East and the Democrats. Yeah, I don't want to go to the phones because there's too little time. And I don't want to give our excellent callers too little time. But, yeah, recess appointments, if they can do that, back to Phil on the mailbag. And if that's possible, Congress is not automatically in recess, and they are automatically getting paid because they voted long ago for them to get paid. Cyril, our third of 4 mailbag questions. Cyril asks, hey, Chris, how long before Hummus sets up mail-in balloting for the next election? So he's talking about Hamas, but hummus is a delicious chickpea puree that everyone enjoys, I know. It's very nutritious. Very nutritious, too. But Hummus sets up mail-in balloting for the next election. Well, they are very much like the Democrats, the terrorist organization known as Hamas, genocidal anti-Semites, death cult that they are. Very much like Democrats. And, you know, the Hamas won the election in the Gaza that was set up by the Israelis. Hey, let me explain democracy to you and how you elect people. And then they elected terrorists who set out for genocide. And then when they lost, now the Democrats are on the side of the criminals. Aren't they great? And I would expect mail-in balloting because the dead still have to vote. And apparently Israel killed some of the bad guys. They still have to vote. God, I've got so much to do, so many things going on. My friend Mark Paoletta, great attorney and author and great American, sent me a fun text just a few minutes ago. It was 34 years ago today that Justice Clarence Thomas, U.S. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, was confirmed to the United States Supreme Court 34 years ago today. Literally one of the great justices in the history of the Supreme Court. Democrats are racists, or nothing if not racist. But 34 years ago today, and you remember the high-tech lynching, as Clarence Thomas himself described it. You remember who presided over that high-tech lynching? Do you recall? Michael, you remember? It was Senator Joe Biden, who was the head of the Judiciary Committee at the time 34 years ago. And it was Joe Biden that presided over the high-tech lynching by the Democrat Party, the party of the Confederate States of America. It was Joe Biden that presided over that high-tech lynching. And Joe Biden hasn't changed at all.
From my standpoint, as a black American, as far as I'm concerned, it is a high-tech lynching for uppity blacks.
That is a fact, Jack. That was Joe Biden, and then the Democrats made him president of the United States, even though he was nowhere near to being up to the job. You know how that goes. Yes, sir. 34 years ago today, Justice Clarence Thomas was confirmed in a vote of 52 to 48. The Democrat Party, the Confederate States of America, Jefferson Davis, Jim Crow, the Democrat Party, and their high-tech lynching of Justice Clarence Thomas. It's impossible to overstate how important Justice Clarence Thomas's confirmation has been to the saving of our constitutional republic. That's a fact, Jack. And Mark Paoletta, writing, the beginning of today's court started when Justice Clarence Thomas was confirmed 34 years ago, after the Democrats launched an all-out war, complete with lies and smears, to not only defeat him, but to destroy him. But the Democrats failed spectacularly. Justice Thomas has been unwavering in his jurisprudence for the past 34 years, and most of the court's signature decisions, Dobbs, overturning the Roe v. Wade, Harvard, Brune, Loper, Bright, Casa, Medina, name the big case, and Clarence Thomas was their key figure. All are the result of Justice Clarence Thomas's blazing the trail back to the Constitution's original meaning. Skirmetti, Lucia, Jarkessi, all these big cases that they study in law school. The Democrats have continued to attack him with despicable lies and smears, and they have continued to fail in spectacular fashion. Justice Thomas has lived the most inspiring American life. Truly, he has. Pinpoint, Georgia, little town. And my best girl, she's from Georgia. When Clarence Thomas and my best girl see each other, there's always great rejoicing throughout the land and cheering and hugging, and it's a wonderful thing. Clarence Thomas is a wonderful guy, just a great guy. If you have a chance to hang out with him, you'll come away saying, wow, what a great guy, what an amazing guy. Justice Thomas is an American hero and our nation's greatest justice. That by Mark Paoletta. Just wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. Yes, sir. And since you brought it, because there are lots of things going on around us today, all kinds of things, and I haven't quite finished my I wanted to share that because Mark Paoletta shared it with me and because Clarence Thomas is such a great American. But our last question was from Cyril about how long will it be before hummus. That's hummus. He's got hummus. Hummus, delicious, tasty, nutritious hummus. Have mail-in balloting in the Gaza, and they will, and the Democrat Party will send people there to help them. Remember when Barack Obama sent people, when he was president, to Israel to fight to defeat Benjamin Netanyahu in the name of jihad? Now, I'll ask, well, it's not quite because Michael sent me another mailbag question a moment ago, but on my written page, Bamo asks, will you be inviting Joe and Mika to your place for Thanksgiving dinner this year, like every year? Said it doesn't say like every year. Just ask if I'm inviting Joe and Mika to Thanksgiving to our place for Thanksgiving dinner. Any other notables other than Joe and Mika being at our Thanksgiving dinner table? Well, Bamo, we are not inviting, very disappointing for all of us, I know, Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski over for Thanksgiving dinner. I don't think they could be helpful in any way. I don't think they need illegal aliens to do dishes. They need illegal aliens to cook for them. They need all kinds. I don't think they are. And here's the truth, Bamo. My best girl and I, we are great friends. Randy Lefebvre, who runs the Chris Plant store online, among other things, great many things, and his wonderful wife, Toby, have invited us over to their family home for Thanksgiving. And my best girl brought this up a couple of nights ago. And so, well, what are we going to do? Because we don't know what we're going to do. We never know what we're going to do, I think. But my best girl came up with we may be traveling to go be with family elsewhere. Otherwise, we'll probably be with Randy and Toby locally. But we haven't got any plans. So we're not having Thanksgiving dinner at our place. But at our place. But what my best girl usually does, even if we go someplace else for Thanksgiving, we cook our own turkey and potatoes and stuff at home. So we have them for days and days, and I can walk over with a big knife and just shave pieces of turkey off with skin and stuff. And we usually do our own, but it's not an official Thanksgiving dinner. We just do kind of our own private side dinner of sorts. So that Bambo, that's mine. So we really don't know exactly, but we may be going someplace else. Not entirely clear just yet. And then Michael Piercy sent me a tweet that we got just a little while ago from Mailbag, and Joyful sent us, Joyful57 sent us, Chris Plant Show. I want to know why you call it Al Gore's wonderful internet. Please be with him. What is that all about? Says, what is that all about? Well, Joyful57, let me try to straighten this out a little bit. I say Al Gore's amazing internet, not Al Gore's wonderful internet, although the internet is wonderful and it is Al Gore's, so it could be Al Gore's wonderful internet. But I call it Al Gore's amazing internet because it's amazing, and Al Gore created it.
During my service in the United States Congress, I took the initiative in creating the internet. I took the initiative in moving forward a whole range of initiatives that have proven to be important to our country's economic growth.
Al Gore saying that he had an extra minute, so he created the internet. What is the first part of that? Because the first part is the key part, that he created the internet.
During my service in the United States Congress, I took the initiative in creating the internet.
He created the internet. He took the initiative in creating the internet. So he created the internet, and so Joyful, I refer to it as Al Gore's amazing internet because Al Gore has claimed that he created the internet. He invented the internet, and I want to give him credit, give credit where credit is due. And then you say, and please be with him. No. What I say is peace be upon him, P-B-U-H. And the reason I say peace be upon him is because that is what all devout Muslims say when they make reference to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and they abbreviate it to P-B-U-H. If you ever see that in parentheses when people are talking about Islam, that's peace be upon him. And since he is a godlike figure to the Democrat Party, having created the internet, among other things, and also we had the Terry McAuliffe, the governor of Virginia, and the former DNC chair. He said that Al Gore actually won the election in the year 2000, but that it was stolen from them by the Supreme Court, no less. He said that's what that lunatic said. So we got that. Yes, sir. So I say, yes, Joyful, I do call it Al Gore's amazing internet because he claims that he created it. And then because he's a godlike figure, and Barack Obama, when he was elected, that was the moment when the rise of the oceans began to slow. And so I treat him like the prophet that he is, and I say peace be upon him whenever I make reference to Al Gore.
This was the moment when the rise of the oceans began to slow and our planet began to heal. This was the moment.
That's right. The planet began to heal and the rise of the oceans began to slow because he was elected president of the United States. Not that he has any ego issues or anything like that. There is this story going around that I wanted to get into a little bit as well, and it has to do with someone. Nobody knows who they are, right? Nobody knows who they are. But they've got, I think, some teenagers were texting each other, and somebody named Jay, and it looks like teenagers, probably 18-year-olds or 19-year-olds or something, and they were texting back and forth, and this has made news all over the news media. Every Republican loves Hitler. They're saying, now the Democrats, they love Hitler very, very much. They firebomb the Jews. They want to steal all your money. They want to nationalize everything. They're insane. But these text messages that some teenagers shared with one another, and in the text messages, one of the teenagers said, I love Hitler. Isn't that what he said? I love, it's not right in the thing that I have here. I love Hitler. But they're being tongue-in-cheek because the Democrats go around calling everybody Hitler every day, calling everybody fascists and Nazis and Hitler. So these teenage guys on a text message said nobody even knows who they are, but the media they're making, oh, look, see, they do love Hitler, just like we said they do. And it's part of the mental illness of the Democrat Party. It really is. But these teenagers, they said, you weren't simply asking a question, and you note, and this is going on to the Democrat who talked about putting 2 bullets in the head of the Speaker of the House in Virginia, and of course, hoping that the Speaker's little child would die in the arms of its mother, because the Democrats are a bloodthirsty gang of goblins. But these teenagers put out, and they didn't put it out, but it's they were joking back and forth with one another in a text thread. Democrats got a hold of it, and they're being ironical and saying, oh, yeah, I love Hitler. They're mocking the Democrats that call everybody Hitler. Then the Democrat idiots got a hold of this text thread of teenagers, and they say, oh, look, they do love Hitler. And it's completely ridiculous. It should be comical. But the Democrats are making hay out of this text thread by unknown, nameless, faceless teenagers who are being facetious and on a text thread, and they should be left alone. But the left, they go after their free speech and everything. And the J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States, tweeted out the Democrat who is running for Attorney General of Virginia, and he actually tweeted things about using 2 bullets, not on Hitler or Pol Pot, but on the Republican Speaker of the House in Virginia, right? And J.D. Vance tweeted out what the Democrats are sharing about teenagers saying, oh, yeah, I love Hitler, being ironical. And J.D. Vance said, this is far worse, posting what the man who would be Attorney General in Virginia posted about shooting the Speaker in the head and all that stuff. Said, this is far worse, J.D. Vance writes, than anything said in a college group chat. And the guy who said it could become the Attorney General of Virginia. I refuse to join the pearl clutching when powerful people call for political violence. Just saying. That's all there is to that. Yes, sir. All right, let's take a break here, and then we're going to pack in everything we can before we wrap up for the day this Wednesday in America. All right, let's go because the troglodytes from hell who are launching their genocidal attack against Israel with the help of the Democrat Party, I might add, is Hamas disarming, which is phase 2. Phase 1, ceasefire. That's good for Hamas. Phase 2, Hamas disarm. Are they disarming? President Trump yesterday.
We have told them we want to disarm, and they will disarm. And if they don't disarm, we will disarm them. And it'll happen quickly and perhaps violently. But they will disarm. And I spoke to Hamas, and I said, you're going to disarm, right? Yes, sir, we're going to disarm. That's what they told me. They will disarm, or we will disarm them. Got it?
There are no perhapses in this. I expect that they will not disarm because they're a bloodthirsty, genocidal death cult, and I don't expect that they will. Now, there is a man who's the CEO of the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies, and it's Mark Dubowitz. Mark Dubowitz, CEO of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. And he was on the television early this morning talking about what we're seeing in Israel and Gaza, and this may not come as a complete surprise.
The IDF has been told to stand down, and Hamas isn't standing down. They're massacring Gazans, so they're in clear violation. They are not disarming, and they haven't returned the bodies of 21 murdered hostages to their families so that their families can give them the proper burial.
But wait, they're what? They're doing, huh? What do you mean? Isn't that crazy? The troglodytes, and Israel has honored their part of it, and they're standing down. But I suspect they're going to have to stand back up because the troglodytes they're massacring people all over Gaza. They accuse of being too cozy with the Israelis, so they're murdering them on their knees, hands tied behind the back, AK to the back of the head kind of stuff. Mark Dubowitz.
We got to hold Hamas accountable because we're letting them violate the ceasefire now, they'll be violating the ceasefire for days, months, and years to come.
And that is a fact, Jack. And I've been talking about that a little bit. There's more to talk about. Now, there were some remarkable testimonials in the last few days of hostages and family members of hostages that have been released thanks to President Trump, including Ian Horn, hostage survivor, and the brother of another freed hostage. His brother was freed as well.
My deepest, heartfelt gratitude to President Donald Trump. Because of you, I'm alive. Thanks to you, I'm standing here today, and thanks to you, my little brother is finally home. Thank you for never giving up and for having the courage to lead when everything seems impossible.
No Democrats are marching in the streets of the United States thanking President Trump for the release of the hostages. They said they wanted to stop the genocide where there was no genocide in the Gaza, where the terrorists had held hostages for hundreds and hundreds of days, and the Democrats were on the wrong side of everything. Liren Berman, also his brother, freed.
Today, for the first time in 2 years, our family can finally breathe. Gali and Ziv are home. They are safe, alive, and back in the arms of our mother, who never stopped believing this day would come. For 738 days, our lives were trapped between hope and fear. Yesterday, that chapter ended. Seeing Gali and Ziv again, holding them after so long, was like feeling the world start to move again.
The walls were not closing in, as the Democrats are so fond of. Then there's Lishe Miran Lavi, whose husband was held hostage and is now not being held hostage.
There are still 24 hostages held by Hamas, whose families long for foreclosure. They deserve to be honored and given a proper burial.
Also in New York, they've got an outbreak. Apparently, the testing positive for the chikungunya virus. The Democrats are introducing new viruses.